Yes, people, welcome back to another episode of the YAHYAH, and welcome to the preview of United versus Spurs. Now, as you can tell, I'm just here in the nice front part of my yard, enjoying the company of a lot of flowers, lilies, hibiscus, palms, just to name a few. But yes, it's the big one, United versus Spurs. Now, let's just have a little discussion about all these hot topics we have seen coming about this game. We see people talking about Bruno Fernandes versus Maddison, Maguire versus Romero, Mbeumo versus Kudos, Cunha and Matthias Tell. We see a lot of comparisons, Benjamin Sesko and Solanke, and them trying to compare a lot of players. And in my opinion, none of those players are comparable to any of the players they were compared to. Maddison is no way better than Bruno Fernandes, which for me, that conversation alone is something I really didn't even want to entertain. But the mere fact that when I checked all of my social media, I've realized that these people actually really think that Maddison have a chance to be in the same conversation with Bruno Fernandes. Now, before we even get down too much into that discussion, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the page. Keep hitting the bell for notifications so I can keep bringing you great content going forward. So yes, this conversation with Maddison and Bruno Fernandes needs to be had. Now, all the metrics that you need to hit as a creative attacking midfielder, Bruno Fernandes is at the top, as we know. They were going gloating about it for the last 2 weeks, about how he's hit all the metrics and he's first on all the metrics you need as a central attacking midfielder. Now, this has been nearly every year since he's came to the league. Not only has he created the most chances within Europe for most of those years, he created the most chances in the Premier League since he's came. The most goals and assists as a midfielder since he came. How are we even having a conversation about James Maddison? You know, that's like saying having a conversation about me with Cristiano Ronaldo. Honestly, I think that's the comparison. Like, who am I? You know, like, who is James Maddison? Like, come on, people. Bruno Fernandes, not only when he plays at the 8, he's doing what he does at the 10. But when he's at the 10, he does what he's doing at the 8. The guy just runs around the pitch, wins the ball, creates chances, links up play, is so dangerous. Like, against Fulham, probably one of his worst games for the season. And he had 2 assists. 2 assists. So the comparison to James Maddison, it doesn't even count, bro. Now let's talk about the other comparison, Harry Maguire and Sergio Romero. Now that comparison as well doesn't even make any sense. Now I know a lot of people try to talk about how Romero won the World Cup and he's a quality defender. And I do agree, he has some traits that I think is like a throwback defender, but so does Harry, and Harry Maguire is a modern defender. Not only can he play as a throwback, he can also play as a modern defender, playing the ball to the lines, defensively really strong, switches the play well, dribbles the ball really well. All these comparisons, if you make them towards Romero, it's uncomparable. Harry Maguire is even better at Romero, at what Romero is really good at, which is being good in the air. So we have to be realistic when we're talking about a lot of these guys, and we have to be realistic about how we think and how we talk about these players. Because biasness, okay, fair. I get it when we're bantering, but when we're really going to talk about actual analysis, let's be real about it. Now, another comparison that I don't even think makes sense in my opinion, so I'm not even going to entertain it too much, is the Tell and Cunha conversation. I just don't think it makes any sense to even talk about that. we will all agree, as footballers, Cunha is better. And then the kudos and Mbeumo. No, that discussion isn't a bad one. Now, let me tell you why. One, technically, is absolutely amazing, and the other one is a goal machine. So, it's like if I was going to compare Cunha to Salah. Cunha, technically amazing. Salah is a goal machine, a stats merchant. It's the same with Mbeumo. Mbeumo is a stats merchant. He plays for the goals and the assists. The final product. There's been a lot of games you watch Man U play, and Mbeumo is probably one of the worst players on the pitch in terms of he's actually not even doing anything, loses a few balls, but he's still one of the most dangerous because as soon as the ball switches from defense to attack, he's the first one that attacks any space possible. He and Ahmad. And that is what makes them so dangerous, because as soon as United transition from defense to attack, Mbeumo attacks that space. But now, kudos, he can bring that ball from the defensive and middle third and just carry the team forward. I've seen him done it on multiple occasions. And in my opinion, I think that's why United did not go after Kudos, because Cunha, similar traits, but Cunha just gets better statistics, but very similar players. Honestly, like, I wouldn't have been upset if United got Kudos, because the guy is actually high level, high quality footballer. And Xavi Simons, another young, talented footballer. It is not working for him right now at Tottenham. But, you know, like, I think he actually has the opportunity next season to make sure that he actually stamps himself as a starter and a very important player in the Premier League. Now, I think Florian Wirtz will do the same. I think there's a few young talents coming into the league that probably, like Benjamin Sesko and these young talents, even Emmanuel Ugarte, as much as United fans and myself talk crazy about Ugarte, I do feel he does need maybe this season and then maybe next season he can be a solid player. I think, why would you sell Ugarte when you need a replacement for Casemiro, which he doesn't need to be, but he can play as a backup, and him next year will be a better player because he's understanding the league a lot better. So it's not like it's a problem for him to like become better or do better or become a better footballer. You know what I mean? So we have to also understand that's another concept in which I think he can really develop. Now let's get into the statistical part of it with the Michael Carrick's and Thomas Frank ability to show that their team can be or take on each other. Now, look at Thomas Frank and how he sets up Tottenham. I actually think he set them up to lose. And you might say, oh, that's so simple to say, but it's not about simple, no. It's not about simple. It's about understanding the structure of how Tottenham plays. Now, you cannot have a team full abundant of attacking players and structure your team to play in a way where one, either you're very open, or two, either you're so compact that the football's too rigid. There's no sort of middle ground for Thomas Frank and the way he set up Spurs. They're either very open or they're either very compact. And all their players struggle because there's no sort of ability to control football games. I haven't watched any game that Tottenham's dominated properly the football game. I haven't. Like, I've seen games where they've looked good and they've played well, but I haven't seen them dominate anyone. Seen them dominate football games to the point where you can say, okay, yeah, Tottenham is taking a step into the next, into the next, you know, like taking another step forward. And it shows, because it actually shows that they probably is maybe a bigger job than Thomas Frank thought, or maybe the job's too big for Thomas Frank. You know what I mean? So there's a strong possibility that either or. But then you look at Michael Carrick, And yes, Thomas Frank has done well with Brentford. And yes, Carrick didn't do really. He did well with Middlesbrough up to a point. And yes, he's only 7 games into the Premier League. But I must say, what I've seen so far, he is hitting all the metrics in which we did the other video. You should check it out. Check it. We would probably put the link to in the description of the video to the metrics Carrick is meeting that will give him this job. Now, he has to beat Tottenham. Not because we need the win, but because of what it means for the club going forward. The momentum. We need to keep this momentum shifting on our side, because maybe we don't win the league this year. Okay? Which I doubt. But let's keep hope. 21 might be coming. But if we keep this momentum and we keep a positive momentum going into the run of the end of the season, usually the team that gets that run is the team that goes into the next season winning the league or being very competitive or close to win the league. I.e., Liverpool, both years they won the league. They were the best team going into the second round of the previous season. Arsenal being competitive, they were the best team going into the second half of this. I think this the first time they had the title charge. Hence is why when they came back the other season, they were probably the best team, if not the best team in Europe. So we have to be real about these things, because these are the small things we need to identify within teams, and so that we can identify within our team to understand the upward trajectory of where United is going. Now, I actually think United is in an upward trajectory, not because of the results alone, but because of what I'm seeing on the pitch. I'm seeing adaptability. I'm seeing versatility. I'm seeing a know-how. I'm seeing a willingness to go win. I'm seeing a lot of things within the game that makes me happy, and that makes me quite pleased with what I'm seeing with Michael Carrick's United. So, I know y'all waiting on my predictions. I honestly think it's probably going to be United 3, Tottenham 1. I don't think we keep a clean sheet just for the mere fact that the Premier League is full of abundance of attacking power. Not a lot of teams are keeping clean sheets. Even Arsenal had that good run of a few clean sheets. Now, you see them conceding a lot of goals. So you have to be aware that the Premier League is a team, is a league that it's power, it's pace, it's physicality, it's goal scoring. So don't be scared to not keep a clean sheet, but know that we have players that can probably go out there and put a few goals onto Tottenham. I can actually see a 3-1 or a 4-1 win. Like, I can even see a 5-1. If United score early, I can see something real nasty happening at Old Trafford. But yes, people, it's been your boy. Put your predictions down in the comments below. Please don't forget again to like, share, and subscribe to the page. Keep hitting the bell for notifications, so of course I can keep bringing you great content going forward. Have a good time. Take care. It's out here in my backyard. Ciao.